this is Project Click, and it's a partnership with the Juvenile Detention Center here in Vancouver. And we have students come from there that have been in and out of detention, and they go through an interview process and an application.
You know, and putting it around your neck.
They're going to be here for about 4 weeks, 4 hours every day, and learn how to train the shelter animals, cats and dogs, and develop empathy and compassion towards the animals as well as their peers. The foundation behind Project Click is a learning theory of clicker training, which was pioneered initially by Karen Pryor, as well as the work that was done by Lynn Lohr with at-risk families. So click even that. So we took the science behind how people learn and how animals learn through positive reinforcement, not using punishment or force or coercion.
Like when they're really young, that's when they're
essentially teaching them a whole new way to communicate.
I started in January of 2004 as a mentor, helping youth get their community service hours done and helping them reconnect with the community. And I don't know if I've seen a better project in which they can do that than this one.
I'm on probation, so I had to do it for my community service. But it's a lot better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, as soon as I heard about this program, I really wanted to get into it. And right away I went home and I filled out the application and had it in the next day. I was ready to go.
It's very hands-on. I like just being with animals and like hanging out with other kids that have been in my situation too.
A lot of these kids have many different problems. If you get into their backgrounds, you understand a little more.
These are questions.
A lot of them need direction and stability, and by giving them things to do and not letting them be bored all the time, they don't go out and try to look for things to do and they end up getting in trouble.
There was one dog, Nessa. She was real hyper. I don't know, she just calmed down, once we worked with her and, did the clicker training, and she just, people can change, so can animals.
I think dogs are very, very good companions. A lot of times, youth are kind of in the same boat as these dogs are. You think about the dogs have been relegated to basically detention. Lots of people think of human society as detention for dogs. And a lot of these youth have been there and have gotten in trouble too. And it's kind of a non-spoken connection there.
It makes me feel like I have some control over my life, like I can, help other people and set a good example.
Not only for just a specific behavior, but also clicking for just being calm. So just for settling. So he's already in the sit. He can figure out that, okay, when I'm calm, that's when I make you click and give me treats. So go ahead and click again. They come in doing exercises using the clicker to mark behavior, and they reward their peer or their dog with a treat or praise and learn to get new behaviors using positive reinforcement. So there's no punishment involved whatsoever, which may be what these kids' lives have been based on. Punished for all kinds of different things, gotten attention for bad behavior.
They use the clicker, and whenever the learner hears the sound, they know that they've done something correct. So, when Jamie was trying to get Mike to pick up the green cone, if he leaned or reached towards the green cone at all, she would click him and give him a reward. So, as a result, he figures out that every time he reaches for it, he gets clicked. So that causes him to repeat that behavior, and so she can build it with successive approximations until she finally gets the end result.
You could get really complex and it has to be a knock.
In the beginning, we start out with obvious behaviors to make it easier, but as the days go on, we get much more elaborate in what we train each other to do.
And we choose the participants based on, do they have at least some resources to help them get down here? When they get transportation back and forth, do they have a little bit of family support at least to help them out as well? We try to choose a group of kids anywhere from 3 to 5 of age range, 13 up to 17, so I think it was really important to have an older kid in the program to really help develop those relationships. And this year we ended up with 4 boys and 1 girl, which is fine. We don't have anything saying that we have to have a certain number of girls versus boys by any means. Remember Moon Pie, the dog from yesterday that was growling at us? We're not going to use the food or the clicker this time. We're going to have you go in there and do absolutely nothing. We've got a method that we use with shy and fearful dogs we go in there and be as non-intrusive as possible to get them used to the fact that people aren't scary, they're good. And Moonpie, the little dog there that was growling yesterday, had issues with people walking up to him, is now starting to walk up to Dylan and investigate him and sniff him. And he got really comfortable at one point and laid down in a circle and started eating some of the treats that were in there, whereas he wouldn't eat any treats before. And what we'll probably do over the next couple of days, have the kids go in there and spend 10-15 minutes reading. The purpose of the book is that gives them something to put their hands on and something to focus on, so their eyes are reading the book. So it resists the temptation to stare directly at the dog, which can make the dog feel uncomfortable.
Which actually we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about
She was deaf and a little bit blind in one eye, and
So what were we doing with her yesterday? Do you remember?
trying to wait for her to lay down and then we click.
Okay. So let's wait just a few minutes. Yeah. So what was Maya like when we first started working with her?
Well, we had to take 2 leashes and walk in front of everybody else because she would start screaming and yelling.
She was kind of doing pirouettes, a little bit crazy. So how many days have you worked with her?
Probably at least a week.
At least a week? It's about 5 days worth?
Yeah.
What's a good way to keep our dogs successful?
To keep training them.
Good.
Keep her training.
Keep clicking. You're so good.
We've got Kalima here. We had a feeling that she had been in an abusive home and probably didn't have very good associations with her name, so we changed her and her sister's name right away just to kind of start fresh. So Cream is still 7 months old. How much of a difference have you seen in her when she first came in?
She's not as timid anymore.
Not as timid?
Yeah, she's really shy, really hesitant to interact with anybody at all.
I don't even think we saw her tail wag at all the first day. I think we didn't even see her tail.
She seems to be warming up to people and dogs.
And dogs.
Nice, so.
I remember yesterday we brought her out with those crowd of dogs and she was like, oh, I don't really know about this.
All right, Dylan, what are some things that would be good for him to learn to help him become more adoptable?
Calmness.
Calmness. Okay. So why don't you just click and feed just because? Get him used to hearing the click and getting a piece of food. So by continuously clicking and feeding, what are we teaching him about you?
I'm the nice guy.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
I've been working with Bear basically since I came here. He kept doing the dance when people would come up to his cage. And so I figured, why not put that on cue?
What's that little thing Bear does with his feet?
I'm clicking it for behavior, because that's sort of another thing for him to get adopted with, because that can show his activity.
At the beginning it was a little bit hard, and then like a day or 2 after it started getting a lot easier.
Mostly what I've learned is how the Humane Society works, and it's a lot differently than I thought.
What has surprised me was how many dogs have come here and how easy they are to work with.
I got the experience so I can work at a Petco or a vet or something.
The hardest thing was learning how to click right on cue.
When you're trying to learn the way that they're trying to learn, silently, with signals and clickers, and it's just, and you understand how frustrating it could be. See, I learned patience.
That's a huge So click even that. I think this works for the same reason that anybody's that ever done clicker training, why it's worked for them in our own lives and with our own animals, that we're learning to do things based on being reinforced for them. So often in our society we're used to being corrected or disciplined for things. And this focuses on training behaviors with reinforcement. We want to do something, so we're going to break it down into small steps. I think that's one of the most important things. You start where the learner can succeed. If my student isn't learning, that's my fault. I need to break it down smaller into smaller increments to where I can build back up from there. Anybody can do it. I think that's one of the reasons it works. Traditionally, animal training was something that used a lot of coercion, and you had to be very careful with it. Clicker training is friendly. Anybody of any age can come in here and clicker train because it's safe and it's based on a positive relationship with the animal.
Or fail to learn.
Yes, the kids live in the moment. And with the clicker, you mark those moments. And they are able to control the pacing. They're also able to live in their bodies. in a way that most troubled kids don't. They feel threatened, they escape, they daydream, they go elsewhere. And the clicker really gets them in the moment to experience what's happening, and it's all positive. And these kids grow up mostly flooded with negatives. So the training game is a way for them to live in their body, to know what's moving when they hear the click, to learn that they can succeed. It also addresses peer pressure in very nice ways, because that team of trainer and learner, the trainer only succeeds if the learner gets it right. And so instead of that antagonism and hostility, you get everybody pulling together. And when you're watching too, you want the learner to get it right, and you want the clicks to be good. It gives kids a way of being positive with each other that bypasses all of the mandatory, cool, negative stuff that peer pressure usually dictates. And troubled kids generally are not good with positives, they're not good with compliments, they think they're going to fail and they sabotage themselves. With clicker training, you bypass all of that and you can give them a totally positive experience. And because they don't have to talk about it, they're not embarrassed.
I think sometimes it's a little bit of a novelty. It's something completely different than they've ever done before. And we're not telling them what to do. We're letting them grow as they need to at their own pace. We're letting their relationships with us, the peers, and with the animals build as the kids feel comfortable. And they have a situation where they're empowered. They're in the role of a teacher, whether they're teaching the dog or teaching their peer to do a behavior, they have that responsibility. It's a two-way relationship. It's not about just telling somebody to do it and punishing them if they don't. It's like, okay, how do I get them to do it using this clicker?
Through all the programs we've been through, and we had some hard times with truancy, this program itself has been absolutely the best thing to come along. He was excited to be here. He, worked with his dog, adamantly. He worried about him. It gave him a reason, to want to come down, to want to be here. It gave him a purpose that he didn't have before. First thing he wants to do is, find a job where he can work with animals. This has been an absolute wonderful thing for him. If you can find something that makes a kid enthusiastic, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that one place that's going to make a difference in their life rather than making them do something.
Yeah, is he starting a new school now in high school?
Yes, it's the first year in high school, so it's all a new big thing for him. But I know, like I said, once he gets settled down and gets, on a level course, I know he's going to be back down here.
Well, I'm wondering, since he was truant from school but had flawless attendance here, the sooner you can link here with his new school, you may address both things.
Yeah, I think it has made a difference because it put him back on track with importance in structure and being there and taking care of business.
What we found in research with really troubled kids is that their experience of the world is so negative that they no longer actually even recognize and acknowledge compliments. So people can smile at them and say nice things to them, and they really swear it didn't happen. What you can do is give these kids a clicker and ask them to click and treat other people in the group when they smile, when they make a gentle gesture. And so you're teaching them to recognize and relearn positive ways of interacting.
Right. And I hope by teaching them too to read those kind of body signals and body language in animals when they're scared or frightened or when they're relaxed and happy, that's transferring over too into them developing better observation skills in reading human body language without even maybe telling them. They're making that connection.
That's one of the most exciting new applications, is looking at what the animals do to show that they're not threats, that they would like to negotiate and not have a fight, and teaching kids primarily, but also their parents ideally, who are fairly volatile and quick to take offense and very quick to react aggressively, how to negotiate, how to show that they're not looking for a fight and how to recognize that in others so that people can choose alternatives to aggression.
One of our plans for the future, I think, is to develop programs for these kids that have come through to continue on. We discovered that after the program, kids want to keep coming back to the Humane Society and keep helping out. So we need to find ways to support them, when they go into high school and into school, how we can help them along those paths, keep reminding them to use these type of methods when they're in situations and help guide them along and give them the support they need, as well as continue to get new kids in here every summer.
They're teaching her to target to a hand, and the reason why they do that is that they can get the dog comfortable targeting to a hand. They can have her follow a hand wherever they need her to be. So they can place her properly on a mat or on a table or on a scale, and she's comfortable putting her nose against the person's hand. Also, if she can develop some duration holding her nose to that person's hand for a period of time, then it's much easier if there's somebody else trying to handle her or manipulate her in such a way to examine her. She's comfortable doing a behavior that she knows is rewardable, keeping her nose to the person's hand.
I started just running my hand down the leg till where I noticed the dog was getting edgy, and now pretty much I can do. She's not even picking up her foot.
Makes it much easier for her to accept and be tolerant of being touched by strange people, like a veterinarian or a technician.
One of the things that has made Project Click possible this year was the funding that we received from Build-A-Bear Foundation. We wrote a grant to them and they decided to fund us actually for 2 years, which is so important for these juvenile programs to continue. There has to be the funding to help them, and by having businesses contribute, I think it just sets a standard for us as a community to come together as nonprofits and profits to contribute back into the community and help these kids really get on the right track. So it really couldn't happen without the financial support as well.